Welcome to this explainer. If you operate anywhere in the global food supply chain, you know perfectly well that a single safety incident can literally destroy years of hard-earned brand reputation overnight. So today, we're breaking down the ultimate safeguard against exactly that, FSSC 22000. But more importantly, we're going to unpack the absolute game changer that just dropped, the version 7 update, and why you really need to act on this right now. To put the sheer scale and authority of this standard into perspective, just think about this number, 41,933. That's the amount of certified organizations globally relying on FSC 22000 to lock down their operations. And we're not just talking mom and pop shops here. We're talking absolute industry giants like Nestlé, Kraft Heinz, and tens of thousands of others. They use this exact framework to guarantee the safety of the food that ends up on your dinner table. We've got a pretty packed agenda today. We're going to cover the global ticket, the 3 pillars of compliance, why certification actually matters, the version 7 revolution, your specific transition timeline, and finally, the exact steps to get certified. Let's get into it. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, FSSC 22000, the global ticket. So at its core, FSSC 22000 is a globally recognized framework for controlling food safety hazards across the entire supply chain. We're talking from the manufacturing floor all the way to packaging, transport, and retail. But here is the absolute most important acronym you need to know, GFSI, the Global Food Safety Initiative. FSSC 22000 holds GFSI recognition. And why does that matter to you? Well, because major global retailers demand GFSI-recognized certifications from their suppliers. It's quite literally your golden ticket into the most demanding, high-value international supply chains. Moving right along to Section 2, the 3 pillars of compliance. You can think of this framework kind of like a puzzle made of 3 interlocking pieces. First up, you have ISO 22000, which is the management framework built right on top of HACCP and risk-based thinking. Then you snap in the second piece, the sector-specific PRPs, or prerequisite programs. These are your strict physical, hygiene, and facility requirements tailored directly to your specific industry, whether you're baking bread or making animal feed. And finally, the whole thing is locked together by the FSSC additional requirements. These cover critical modern threats, things like food defense and food fraud mitigation. When you put all 3 pillars together, it creates an impenetrable shield for your operations that a standard ISO certification just couldn't achieve on its own. Okay, Section 3, why certification really matters. Let's look at the real-world value. The crucial takeaway here is that achieving this certification actively protects and frankly elevates your business. Sure, you get that global market access we talked about, but you also gain a systematic, bulletproof way to control biological, chemical, and physical hazards long before they ever reach the consumer. And that leads directly to fewer product recalls. That alone protects your brand reputation and saves you from absolutely devastating financial hits. Plus, all this rigorous standardization, it boosts your operational efficiency. You get clearer processes, way less product waste, and incredibly consistent output. Bottom line, it's an investment that seriously pays for itself. Now for the really urgent stuff. Section 4, the version 7 revolution. Industry experts have been crystal clear about this update, saying this is a structural update, not a cosmetic one. Let me repeat that, structural, not cosmetic. You absolutely cannot just tweak a few documents, change the date on an old policy, and cross your fingers for your next audit. No way. Version 7 demands fundamental, top-to-bottom changes in how you run your facility, how your team thinks, and how you actually document your day-to-day operations. So, let's look at exactly what's shifting here. Version 7 completely changes the landscape. First off, it requires adopting the brand new ISO 22002-2025 prerequisite programs. That means your foundational hygiene rules, they're getting a major overhaul. Second, it integrates a huge focus on sustainability, actively linking your food safety systems directly to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And honestly, perhaps the biggest change of all, it moves way past basic compliance and places a deep, measurable emphasis on food safety culture. The standard now demands hard proof that safety is practically embedded in the DNA of your workforce. It aligns perfectly with the super strict GFSI 2024 benchmarking requirements. Which brings us to Section 5, your transition timeline. Let's talk deadlines. All right, here is the stark reality of the calendar. Version 7 was officially published back in May of 2026. You are allowed to conduct audits under the old version 6 standard, but only until April 30th, 2027. After that date, the transition window officially opens, and it slams firmly shut on April 30th, 2028. What does that mean for you? It means you have a strict 12-month upgrade window to pass your transition audit. And because these changes take serious time to implement and actually generate operational evidence for, well, if you aren't planning your transition right this second, you are already falling behind.
So how do we actually get there? Section 6, Steps to get certified. Here's your roadmap.
This proven 5-step pathway generally takes about 3 to 8 months, depending on how big and complex your facility is. Step 1 is your gap analysis, basically finding out exactly where your current setup falls short of the new version 7 rules. Step 2 is executing the training for your team and actually building out the system policies. Step 3 is the real make-or-break moment. You must implement these rules on the production floor and generate real, tangible records. You can't just have a shining manual sitting on a shelf. You really have to live it. Step 4 is performing an internal audit to catch any of your own mistakes. And finally, Step 5 is bringing in an independent body to complete the intense 2-stage certification audits. I actually want to pause here for a second, because this is where a lot of companies stumble. Training is absolutely vital. You could have a perfect system on paper, but it will instantly fall apart on the factory floor if your people don't get it. The entire team, I'm talking everyone from the line workers all the way up to the QA managers in the office, needs specific training. They need that basic awareness, deep HACCP knowledge, internal auditing skills, and crystal clear instruction on the V7 changes. Because remember what we said earlier, version 7 audits specifically hunt for a strong food safety culture, and the only way to build that culture is through comprehensive, effective training. So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I really want you to take a hard look at your current operations. Think about that tight timeline we just went over and ask yourself a tough question. Is your facility truly ready for the version 7 standard? Evolving your food safety system is about so much more than just passing a routine audit. It's about protecting the consumers and bulletproofing your brand's future. The clock is officially ticking on this transition. Are you going to be ahead of the curve or left scrambling at the deadline? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.